Hey folks, it's Andrew, and I have a problem. So let's talk about Geogebra. Yeah, that was from 2017. And now I've got a new problem. So let's talk about Geogebra. Again. So way back in 2013, I posted this cool geometry problem of a manhole cover that I took a picture of on Cedar Street in Lansing. And then I never solved it or posted a solution to it at all. So I took that as an opportunity to show you guys Geogebra by way of solving that problem, which I still think is a valid approach, by the way. The problem now is that Geogebra has updated itself quite a bit since 2017, and I think it's time we get a fresh look at the tool Geogebra. Geo for geometry and gebra like algebra. So the basic essence of the problem is that from the paint from the road, we can see that the manhole cover was replaced, rotated from its original pre-image. So the question becomes, how much rotating do we need to do to get this section of paint lined back up with the spot that it was originally in? All right, 2017, Andrew, we will take it from here. So 2020 Geogebra has a slightly different look. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it is a more powerful tool. It does more things. They've added functions to it. So we'll take a look at some of that toward the end. But let's start by solving the circles from Cedar Street problem in Geogebra. I just so happen to have that photo still available. So we're going to say Start Calculator. We are going to click over here with the Geometry Tools button. Now you've got to scroll a little bit to get down to your transformations because it's going to use this workspace here potentially for algebra purposes with graphing or geometry purposes for transformations. So you've got to go down here to the geometry section. What's still really nice about Geogebra is that you can still just simply do a copy and a paste on this particular image, and it'll insert right onto the plane there for you to be able to mess around with. Okay, so it pasted it in there a little bit big for us to work with. So these little buttons down here will help us zoom out. So what we're interested in is how much that circular manhole cover was rotated and how much we would have to rotate it back to get that section of paint lined back up with the line. Okay, so the way that I'm going to go about this is I want to draw a circle on the top of this image. Okay, but it can be really tricky to find the center of that circle. So I'm going to go with this construction here of a circle through 3 points. And you notice down here it says select 3 points on the circle. It gives you the instructions for how to pull that off. This has always been the tricky thing with geometry softwares, is how to tell the program what it is you're actually trying to do. So I'm going to choose 3 points on this circle here. 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, so there I got my circle. Okay, so now I'm going to mark on that circle where that section of paint is by putting a line segment on it. So I go up to my line segment tool here, and I'm going to click on that intersection point there on the circle and that intersection point there on the circle. Okay, now if you don't like where that was because I missed the circle a little bit, I'm going to undo that just by clicking this little button here, and we're going to try it one more time. Okay, now you notice that if we go back over here, it's listing all of those things here. Okay, so in addition to giving us all these points, so we've got all these points now that are plotted, but keep in mind what's going on behind there, it's still a coordinate plane. So it is documenting all of the ordered pairs for the points that I've put on there. It's also got the equation for the circle that's on there, and the points that I put on the circle, as well as the segment, which has been given both the name FG, of course, because of the endpoints, but it has been given the name little f and that's the length of it according to the units on that coordinate plane. Okay, now we know from our algebra that if we can get the equation for the circle, that we've got the center point. If we're going to look at a rotation, of course, we're going to need a center of rotation. So it's going to be really nice if we can get the center of that circle that we drew, which appears to be at, give or take, 1.484 and 0.9197. So if we were to plot that point down here and call it point, what's the next one? H. And 0.91. And you got to turn that on. So there's our center point of that circle. Okay, so now we want to do a rotation around that circle to see when we can get line segment FG aligned here with our paint, with our road paint. So we know we're going to do a rotation. So we'll go back to our geometry, go to our transformation menu here. You see how it says rotate around a point. So it says select object to rotate and center point, then enter angle. Okay, so I'm going to select the object that I want to rotate here. And I'm going to rotate or check the center point here. And it's going to ask me for an angle. Because I've solved this problem before, I know the answer is counterclockwise 130 here. And there's our segment lined up nicely. Now, if you wanted to create a worksheet or some sort of a interactive experience with this type of problem, you could. You would have to sign in by pairing with your Google account, and then that would generate an activity link for this that you set up that you could then post to your Google Classroom or something like that. So you could leave this in this kind of form here, or simply leave the manhole cover on the grid and say, go ahead and mess around with it and figure out the angle that it would have to be. And along those lines, Geogebra also has lots and lots and lots of resources and classroom activities already built out for all kinds of different kinds of math. Okay, you notice they have all kinds of different kinds of activities with YouTube videos ready to help instruct and introduce the topics, as well as activities that are designed for you to have some interactive digital experiences for your students as they explore these math topics. Geogebra also has a classroom feature so that you can enroll your students into, so that your students can have an access point that becomes routine for them. So that's a refreshed look at Geogebra, an extremely powerful math resource that has stood the test of time and continues to get better and better. Let me know if you'd like to explore this together or if you have other ideas, and I look forward to seeing you around.